Yo, what's up, everybody? This is Wally, one half of the Undisputed Champion Show, and you are now tuned into In or Out Sports Debate with my dog, Drew Willingham. Let's go!
LegacyMaker, the All Sports Network, presents a SIRTOBA Media production where the struggle is real to be awesome.
5, 4, 3, 2.
The wait is over. Hello, everyone. We are live with another episode of the In or Out Sports Debate. And here's your host, Drew Willingham, along with this week's special guest, son of pro wrestling Mid-South wrestle star and legend, the Golden Boy Greg Anthony, representing the Golden Circle, Xander Kid NBA Anthony. That's right, everyone. We are live with episode 21 of the In or Out Sports Debate. I am your host, Drew Willingham, along with this week's special guest. He is son of professional wrestling legend, Greg, the Golden Boy Anthony. Please welcome 12-year-old NBA historian, Xander Anthony.
Yep, happy to be here. What's up?
Thanks, man. I'm glad to have you here, too. You know, this is your first ever show ever to talk sports. That video clip that your dad sent me, I was amazed with just one, how you delivered your thoughts, for one. Two, you know, just your knowledge within the game. It blew me away. And I'm all about giving somebody a chance here on my platform. So welcome aboard to episode 21 of the In or Out Sports Debate. How does it feel to have a little graphic underneath you with your face right there, chilling with some other guys right here that you could potentially meet one day?
Me and Zach Levine can be cooking in the league. Be ready. Throwing alleys off the backboard.
Now, Xander here, you know, he's not just an NBA historian, but he plays himself. You know, here at 12 years old, he's got 5 good years of basketball left in him. Talk to me a little bit about your basketball background.
So when I was younger, I was about like when I was like in second grade, we used to have this little, it wasn't really a hoop, it was like just this thing that we like shot playground balls in a like recess and stuff. So I was like, man, this stuff's kind of fun. So like I talked to my dad about it, and there's like this activity center where I'm in my local town. I was like, I could just start playing there. First year, terrible. Scored 0 points. I remember this one time in particular where this dude was guarding me, and I pretty much trucked him. They called off offensive foul. I felt like I was gonna get a bucket right there, but you know, they love calling stuff on me. But yeah, years go on, I get better. I still kind of play at the center, but then I get on the school team eventually, and then yeah.
Hey, practice makes perfect. So you really want to go somewhere with it. You got to work every single day, kid. And, you know, you at 12 now, you still have plenty of time left to get, hone your craft. So if you really want to do this, stay with it. And I'm with you here. So thank you again for joining me here on this show. And before we get started, though, I do want to give acknowledgement to the Vault of Fame, where we give acknowledgement to past participants on the show.
Acknowledge me.
You know, here with the Vault of Fame, like I said, we give acknowledgement to the past participants here. And Xander's dad is on this list. But before that, we have Rob Johnson with episodes 1 through 11, Tyrone Montgomery Jr. with episodes 12 and 15, Corey Mann, one half of the Undisputed Champions, here with episode 13, the Golden Boy Greg Anthony at episode 14, Snowman in the Mornings Brian Snow here for episode 16, Mr. Rollback for Walmart Supercenters, episode 17, Darrell Owens, who's also LMSN program director, episode 18, Brian H. Waters of the Wrestling Realm, episode 19, James Brown of the LegacyMaker Sports Network, and last night's episode, in case you missed it, Wale Akinso of the Urban Sports Scene and Fox Sports Hopewell was here last night. And today is Tuesday. Part of today is Double Debate Tuesday. We have Xander here right now live here at 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern, 3 o'clock p.m. Central Time. But we also have this evening at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 6:30 p.m. Central. This Tuesday, tonight, we have P. Alexander Wally, who is the other half of the Undisputed Champions with Corey Mann, who's here this evening for the first time. And then tomorrow at 12 o'clock noon Eastern time, we have Paul Schofield, who's LegacyMaker Sports Network alumni, here with episode 23. And announced last night, Corey Mann returns next Monday, July 18th at 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern here on the LegacyMaker Sports Network. And I know that was a lot, Xander. That was a lot for me to rattle off my tongue. Thank you for sticking with me on that. Thanks for not dipping out on me. I know that was a lot to say, but I got to give acknowledgement, just like Roman Reigns says, acknowledge me. I got to give love to the people who were here previously, because without you guys, I wouldn't have this show. It takes two to tango in my world. So thank you guys for signing up. And, basketball is your thing, like you've told me before. And with this, we have got an all NBA edition. This is the all NBA edition 2.0, because Tyrone Montgomery Jr. and I had the first all NBA edition here on episode 15. So, and I know your dad said you went back and watched it to kind of get an idea of how the flow is. So now with that said, are you ready to rock and roll with this thing?
Ready. I'm ready.
All right, my man, let's get down with round one.
Round one.
With round one, the Lakers should trade Anthony Davis in order to free up enough cap for big offseason moves this offseason. How do you feel about this, Xander? Are you in or are you out?
I'm in. Okay, so the reason why I'm in fully is because Anthony Davis has had previously a lot of injuries, mainly this season. And this season, even when he came back, he wasn't at a full level of Anthony Davis. And then recently I heard he was just shooting at a Nike campus. This is my first time shooting basketball in a couple months. Regardless of him also being non-injured, he still hasn't really been working overall. And I feel regardless of them winning a championship a couple years ago, I feel they still could find a younger piece to replace his spot and probably get some picks as well with it, because they need those. They traded all their picks to New Orleans for Anthony Davis and all that. But I feel the main trade I'm thinking is probably a sign and trade with DeAndre Ayton, because DeAndre Ayton, all he needs is to be with somebody that he can actually be a star on the team. I know they have LeBron, but I feel he can still be a star. So yeah, that's why I'm in.
Now, if you go back, of course, you saw episode 14 with your dad, because that's what initially got you interested in this show. You heard him say LeBron sucks. And, when I'm going to ask you this question, and we're going to pop up the in or out graphic on this, do you think LeBron sucks?
No.
All right, enough said. We'll get into that as a topic, later on. But I just wanted to see. I didn't get a chance to get that little clip with your dad in here. I meant to do that so that way I could pop him up with playing to say that, and then you answer it that way. But that's good enough. My take on this: the Lakers, should they trade AD? I'm definitely in. When you look at what their cap room is, right? You got Russell Westbrook, who's at $47 million. LeBron James, who's at $44 million. Anthony Davis is at the least amount at $37 million. But hear me out. He's got a 3-year contract. The following year, he's at $40 million. And the year after that, for his last year, he's at $43 million. So in essence, his contract's going to go up to where he's going to cost you more in the long run. LeBron and Russell Westbrook's contract, I know, well, definitely Russell Westbrook's on a 1-year deal. And if you trade him now, you're not going to get as much for him. His contract isn't as valuable. 1, because you're overpaying him. 2, because he's only got 1 year left. So when somebody trades for him, they're going to get a 1-year rental out of it. If you trade for Anthony Davis, you get multiple years. You get 3 years. So if you trade him this offseason, somebody actually gets something out of it if he stays healthy. That's the big question, because last year he didn't stay healthy. And with LeBron's declining numbers because of his age, and with the other guys on the team who's declining because of age, and they need to get more youth in there. If you trade AD now, whether you get picks or you just get young talent that's good within the league and bring them in with 3 or 4 good guys for AD potentially, or 2 guys and some picks, that's going to be a bigger boost to this team that LeBron needs now than what he's got currently. Because if you're going to try to make a run this year with Westbrook and get the best out of him, because Westbrook's on a make or break. It's either he plays well and he gets another contract extension, or he gets a contract somewhere else, or he plays like he did last year and for the past couple years, and he doesn't go anywhere. He's best to play in the big 3 somewhere outside of the NBA. So how do you feel about that?
The big 3 part's a bit much. The big three part's a bit much, but yeah, I see the same things. Like they have way too much money in their hands. No way you're paying Russell Westbrook $50 million a year and he's not even averaging over 25. That's like a bit much because usually like everybody gets paid over 40 million. They're like the star, but he wasn't even a top 3, top 4 star. So yeah.
Absolutely. With that, we've started off the show pretty well with round 1. Let's hop it in on a round 2.
Round 2.
With round 2, I did pretty decent with this graphic. What do you think? With Chris Paul up there, right above the basket, it's not too bad with the little cartoon. It looks like NBA Jam. I think that's where it came from. But Chris Paul should consider switching teams or retirement after this year's playoff exit. How do you feel about that? Are you in or are you out on this?
I'm in.
Okay.
So there's winning in the regular season with Chris Paul. We've looked at the statistics all over the board. Every single time he gets on a team, they play good. But the issue with him is it's just playoffs for him. It's like every time they go to the playoffs, there's always an issue. They got an easy path to the finals last year, and they just got tore up by the Bucks. They were up 2-0. They had a good thing going and just fell apart. But overall, Chris Paul just needs to just get out because I literally saw an ad of him doing a ring ad because I think that's how bad he wants a ring. But yeah, that's what I got.
Okay, with this, when it comes to him switching teams, I got to agree on this. I'm in on this as well. With the way this team went out, I'll piggyback on what you said, but with this way this team went out last season, yep, he was just floating and floating and floating. And you go back and airmail, and you look at what I said back in episode 15. For those of you who watched episode 15 and who are probably going to watch it now that I've mentioned it, just go back and watch it. Enough said. Like I basically summed it all up on why I'm in. But I have to agree with my man here. I'm definitely in. So far, we are both agreeing on these first two. And, one thing I do like to say, throughout the middle is when we do have some big news, I like to acknowledge it. And we do have some breaking news to share with you guys. And that breaking news is next Monday. Not only do we have Double Debate Tuesday, today we'll have Double Debate Monday next week. Joe Dillard Jr. of the Commonwealth Sports Talk joins me next Monday, July 18th, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Central, here on the LegacyMaker Sports Network. And with that, we have gone through the first 2 rounds of this show. We are now about to hit up round 3. How you feeling so far, Xander? How's the show been so far for you?
Feeling great.
Well, you're definitely killing it so far. Let's keep it going through round 3.
Round 3.
With round 3, Kevin Durant wanting out of Brooklyn shows that the franchise is in total disarray. How do you feel about this, Xander? Are you in or are you out?
I think I might be out on this one.
Okay.
I don't think it's the franchise issue. I actually think it's the players because people have talked about how Steve Nash's coaching has been bad, but then they also talk about why KD, like, why would you leave? It shows like the type of player he is if he literally leaves because he got sweet. No player just leaves, and he's only been there for a couple of seasons. But I feel like the stretch he had where Kyrie and Harden weren't playing in that Bucks series where his foot was on the line and all that, if you just put a couple of good pieces around them and some younger and better players around him, he could easily go all the way. But he doesn't. I don't know why he didn't think of that. I don't know why you put 3 stars together and expect them to just dominate the league. Like it's not the same anymore.
I agree totally with you and with part of what you're saying. However, I am in on this. Look, I got to acknowledge what you're saying because, what you're spitting out is straight facts. However, when I did go over this topic recently, I did this a couple days ago. Well, actually, spoiler alert, it's for tomorrow's episode that was pre-recorded, because tomorrow's episode at noon is pre-recorded. It's the first. And before I go into the topic, this is the 16th straight live episode that I've done. Then tonight at Tuesday, with the Double Debate Tuesday, is episode 17 straight live one. So tomorrow will end that streak. I've had 17 straight live productions by that point. But anyway, before that, and thank you for the acknowledgement, my man. But before that, when we recorded that, because it's not a too big of a secret. We did pre-record it, and from the post. Anyway, we talked about this in this show, in this episode, and I went in on this because the franchise itself, when you've got Kyrie who wants out, when you got KD who wants out, when you got James Harden that wanted out, when you got Jay-Z that wanted out, who was the owner or whatnot, you got all these different things that you could throw in there as a culmination of everything, is to say, yeah, this there's something not right. This is like the Cleveland Browns of NBA, maybe, as far as their functionality, or maybe not even as bad. I would say the Houston Texans, because the way they've been operating, apparently with these massages with Deshaun Watson and stuff, everybody knows about all that stuff going on all over Sports Center. I know you're big in basketball, but I know you've heard about it. It's not been a secret. Too. Yeah, so you know about it. So with that being said, I kind of compare the two. Maybe not as bad with the favors behind the scenes, but at least there's some turmoil going on there. Maybe we can compare it to the Washington Commanders of the NFL, because that's my team, as you can see behind me with some of the logo stuff back there. So I got the sign covering up the old emblem, because on my left arm I got a half sleeve tattoo with the old emblem on them. That I was a fan. I know you can say what you want, but I say it, and you can come at me as you want, because I'm also part Native American in my lineage. I am a fan of the Redskins, and I'm a fan of whatever they call themselves, because that's my hometown team. Just like, who's your NFL team?
I'm a Niners fan.
Okay, so you're a Niners fan. So even though it's not like hometown, you still have a team that you stuck with it. When I was born, they put me in Redskins baby clothes. I got pictures from 1987 when I was born, when it's in there. So, and it sounds like a long time ago compared to your age, but yeah, 87 is not that bad, young man. I still played baseball, adult baseball in my adulthood on the weekends, which if you watch episode tomorrow in the intro, it's got me hitting an almost home run in the intro.
The almost, high five. The almost.
Hey, almost. It came 3 feet from the fence. And at 34 years old, when I did it last year, a college outfielder had to run from shallow center, right center, all the way to like the line in right field to run that thing down. I would have had a double against anybody else, but they have their best talent, because they have guys that play, from ages 18 to 35 on average. I'm 35 now, right? So I'm towards the twilight of my career. I'm transitioning more into player coach. Okay. But anyway, I have fun with these guys. This is my 5th season doing it. I know we're getting a little off subject, but with this, you can see I can still keep up with you. I'm not outdated yet. I'm not obsolete. So give me like 5 more years, then we'll probably talk. Okay. Your dad can still do professional wrestling for a while. I won't be able to do baseball as long, but, and I'm not doing softball, kid. I'm doing baseball, but that's for a whole other discussion for later. But anyway, Kevin Durant, wanting out of Brooklyn, in my opinion, that's why I'm in. With all of the other guys said, with everything else, this franchise, there's something going on behind the scenes that they need to get straight before they start bringing in big name talent. Because when you got Kyrie wanting to leave, James Harden, and now Kevin Durant, well, who else do you have? Are we going to trade and get Russell Westbrook? You're going to get somebody else in there that's going to actually do something? I don't know. I can't tell you. And Ben Simmons, I'm out on him too, because I'm not going to make fun of him, because everybody, when it comes to whether it's mental health or whatever that's going on, I'm an advocate of that. You got to take care of yourself, right? But I feel like there's a little bit more there, but we don't have the right to talk about that yet. But with all that said, you welcomed all that in there. As the Nets, you welcomed that. And you did it for KD, and KD's been a cancer to this team, in my opinion, because no matter what move you made for him and whatever move they made for him throughout, it's been as explosive as my intro at the beginning, with that explosion at the beginning. So how do you feel about that? I know it's a lot, but what do you think?
It's Kyrie, though. You know how Kyrie is. You know how Kyrie is.
Yeah, but when he shuts up and he plays, he got the championship in Cleveland.
That was like 5 years ago, 6 years ago now, thinking about it. That was a while ago. He's not a winner, in my opinion. He was a winner. I don't know what happened to that winning mentality, but it's not there anymore to me.
maybe like some guys in the past before, they've had to go back and play with somebody who reminds them of that. If he actually shuts up and listens to LeBron like he did the first time when they got the championship, who knows? LeBron is kind of like the time in a way. I can't give him the full credit, but I would say LeBron's kind of like the Tom Brady of the NBA. When you play with him, he kind of brings the best out of you.
Yeah.
On the team. Maybe not completely, because like Tom Brady's like your best friend in the NFL and whatever team you play for. But with LeBron, even though I'm not a big LeBron guy, I'm not a homer on him, right? Jordan is still my number one all time. And maybe at some point we can have another episode to talk about top tens. But with that, he's not anywhere close to that. But I got to give credit where it's due. So,
Yep.
But with that, we've gone through 3 rounds here so far on the In or Out Sports Debate. And we've got some comments to acknowledge from the fans. Let's go ahead and go into the Medial Mayhem. And with that, at the beginning of the episode, the program director for LegacyMaker Sports Network and also Mr. Rollback, who I was saying who was here for episode 17, says, Drew and Xander, he's pumped up, man. As soon as I sent him that video of what your dad sent me with you talking some sports knowledge in there, I sent it to him, and he was pumped for it too. That's why I was like, I got to get this kid in here. So he's just as excited, and he's definitely watching live right now. So give a shout out to him.
Yep.
So with that, we got Corey Mann right here with the strong arm emoji. Yep, my man right there, Corey Mann, who's going to be here next Monday. One half of the Undisputed Champions, who his other half, P. Alexander Wiley, is going to be here tonight. So definitely an explosive day we got today for Double Debate Tuesday. Darrell also says AD to the Suns would be interesting. I actually like that. What do you think about that, Xander? Let's make that another in or out. Are you in or you out on him going to the Suns?
Well, I'm in because the DeAndre Ayton trade.
Okay. For me, I got to give acknowledgement too. We both agree, like that would be big for the Suns. If they put Chris Paul in that package, send him to the Lakers, and basically give him some young talent as well. Not straight up for him, but for some picks, some young talent, of course, with Ayton. I don't know what they're going to do, but if you got Chris Paul to go with LeBron, not only would his production go up, but it's his best chance to get a ring, depending on who else they put with him. So I feel like there'd have to be like a 3, potentially 4-team trade within this to where the Lakers would have to get multiple pieces, right? They're not going to just send Chris Paul for AD straight up. But I just feel like that with Chris Paul at the end of his career, it's his last shot. I don't think he's going to get it with the Suns. So with that, another comment that we have, Corey Mann says that comment by Darrell is very interesting. So I definitely have to give it up to that. LeBron's still playing like a top 5 player in the league. What do you feel about that? Do you think he's still not just on marketing value or as the GOAT or what everybody wants to argue as, or one of the GOATs or one of the top 5? Do you think he's playing like a top 5 in the league currently, not of all time?
It's not really difficult to play like a top 5 player in the league when you have literal G League players on your team. But he has been playing like a pro. He was averaging like 36 and 6. I mean, but you do have an injured AD, a selling Westbrook, and the rest of them are like literal G League players, other than like my boy Austin Reeves. But other than that, yeah, that's he's like 6, so I'm out on that one.
Okay. I agree wholeheartedly with what you've said. I'm out on this too. And with that, we have unlocked our first installment of we both agree that we are out on the fact that LeBron is still playing like a top 5 player. Maybe a couple of years ago, I'm sorry, Corey, that we disagree on that. Jay Quimby comes and says, you never get the same out of Kyrie. So, you're right. Consistency is key. We need consistency in this game. A game where stamina and endurance and all that, it comes with a big play. You need some consistency. You need to get your head out of the gutter, and you need to go to a team where there's not so many restrictions or so many excuses for you to not do what you're supposed to do and what you get paid to do.
Yep. I think the same thing. It's like, how do you drop 60 and then miss 10 more games after? It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me.
Mm-hmm. You're absolutely right. And then with that, we've got Corey Mann saying Kyrie is simply not a leader who has placed himself on a pedestal of a leader. I
Yeah,
think we both can hold. I think we both can agree with
sure.
that. And
Terrible leader.
Corey
Terrible.
also throws this. He, with the Bishop Bullwinkle video, he loved it. So he's shocked, with how we felt about it. But with that, we've gone through the midway point of our show. We got 3 rounds. We've gone through the fans' comments. So guys, with whatever we're saying with the next few rounds that we got left going on here, the next couple rounds, go ahead and get your comments, and we'll acknowledge them here at the end of the show potentially. And with that said, we're going to take this into round 4.
Round 4.
Here with round 4, I like to call this the by the numbers segment, where depending on what episode we're on, we discuss, who is the greatest. And with this, since we're at an all NBA episode, I'd say with this one, we've got Tim Duncan is the best to ever wear the number 21 of all sports athletes. How do you feel about that, Xander? Are you in or are you out on this?
I think I'm in on this one.
Okay.
So he is the best power forward of all time. He's probably the most fundamentally sound athlete of all time, if you actually think about it. But I had him and Deion Sanders kind of like back and forth, because Deion Sanders, he was that guy. He was that guy. But like, nobody is beating anything with Tim Duncan. Like, who's guarding Tim Duncan in the post? Like, honestly, who's actually guarding him? So yeah, that's the main reason. Like, he's so fundamental, it's insane. Looking at his highlights, of course.
Absolutely. I totally agree with this. I'm in on this as well. And like I've said on a previous episode, like, Tim Duncan is the catalyst for those 5 NBA championships that the Spurs have, right? I feel like he played on 3 different types of teams. You had the first type where David Robinson was there, and he learned how to be a great basketball player there. And David Robinson got the win on his way out in 99, and I think he was there for 03 for the second one, I believe, if I'm not wrong. I think he was there for the first 2. I know he was there for the first one, but I believe he was there for at least the first 2. Then the second tier, you have Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker, and those guys that were there to form. They weren't the big 3, but they were the first trio, of our modern era that you could really think of that weren't considered a big 3 that you spend a lot of money on, kind of like the super team that LeBron spent time on. And then the third tier, I would say, would be when he also had those guys that I just previously mentioned at the end of their career, but you added Kawhi Leonard to the mix, for him to get the last couple of championships. So when you put all that in perspective, he helped mold multiple champions. Okay. Not just championships, but champions and people. He's also into coaching now with the Spurs and doing things, to give back to the game. So with all that to be said, you can give an argument for, not just him, but for Kevin Garnett and Dominique Wilkins. But when you put all that into perspective, they don't have the clout that Tim Duncan does.
Yeah,
so,
there's no Toronto Kawhi without San Antonio. There's literally no.
So with that, we both agree on that. We've flown through the round 4. We only have 1 round left, guys, to get into, and that is the final round.
Final round.
Here at the final round, we've got the Bulls offering the largest contract in franchise history to Zach Levine. Will be a great move for the team's future. Now, how do you feel about that? Are you in or are you out on this?
I think I'm in on this one.
Okay.
So the point with him is he's that second star that you need. When he was healthy, he was averaging 25 and DeMar is averaging 28. As a duo, that's insane. The only thing that I really have with him is he literally has to start taking more mid-range shots. When you watch him play, he's either taking a 3 or he's trying to dunk. And I just don't like that overall, but like he's progressed so much since he came to Chicago. Ever since that trade for Jimmy Butler on draft night to get Laurie and Zach down here, he's been crazy. But he just he has to work on a lot of things. If he gets his injuries under control and he gets all his stuff marked down, when he comes into this next season, I think him and DeMar might go at least conference finals if everybody's healthy at least.
I'd say you're spot on with that. When you really, really put all this into perspective, It's a lot of money,
Yeah.
when you really think about the cap room and when you really think about the contract he's got, the way contracts have been stimulated over the past few years has just been nuts. The way that they've been structured, that guys are getting paid way more money than they were getting paid like 5-10 years ago. So
Yeah.
back in the day, when you think about this type of contract, I would say it would cripple the team, like potentially like Bradley Beal's deal in Washington would be.
Oh yeah.
But I actually feel like, with offering him the largest contract, it's not too big of a deal. Like it's actually good for this team. That's why I'm in. It'll be a great move for this team. They've just got to build around him more, around with what they had. Because you lost out on Jimmy Butler. You had other guys that you could have that could really be making this team something special right now. But right now it's Zach Levine, so you need to pick up some other big pieces, and you still got plenty of time to do so. But if you could prove us right with this.
Yep. Also think overall, it's Zach Levine at the end of the day. Would you rather be paying Russell Westbrook or Zach Levine? That's at the end of the day. There's a reason for that.
No brainer. I got you right there, man. Like you definitely don't want to be paying Russell Westbrook, which you're paying him this year, but you're stuck with that contract. They knew what they were getting themselves into. So it's make or break. Like we had said earlier with round one, like they either need to really showcase him this season, because you're not going to get much value. You get more value for AD. But with Zach Levine here, I really like this move that they made. I think that's going to pay dividends for them in the future.
Yep.
So with that said, guys, we've gone through all 5 rounds of the In or Out Sports Debate. We do have some comments that we do want to acknowledge right here at the end. So if you guys have anything else to say, go ahead and get them in real quick, as we're going to go into the Mayhem culmination. And Corey Mann comments, he says that hands down, even though he's talking outside of NBA, the best one to wear 21 is Deion Sanders, I guess, out of all sports. If this was in all sports, my argument would be different. It would not be Deion Sanders. He says Deion Sanders is the greatest to wear 21 all time, which, there's so many different guys. I would say LaDainian Tomlinson is a good one. In my opinion, he was one of my favorite running backs of my era to watch him play. But this is an all NBA edition. And because of that, because we're talking all NBA edition, we both have got to give one more installment of sorry, Corey, all NBA edition. And we just, even if it was 21 in all of sports, I just had to play it. So with that was the comments that we had right here at the end of the show. Before that, we do have one more segment to go into, and that is the final word. And Xander, throughout this entire episode, we've now done 33 minutes here on the In or Out Sports Debate, episode 21. Thank you again for coming on here. But with episode 21, you're welcome. With episode 21 culminating throughout all the rounds that we've talked about, everything or anything in NBA in general. What's on your mind that you want to get through here with the final word?
Imagine if LeBron didn't trade for all those people. Imagine that, because he would have Ingram, Randall, D'Angelo Russell, Kyle Kuzma. He would have one of the best teams in the Western Conference if he just would have left the younger players like they were.
You're absolutely right. I wholeheartedly agree with that. We've seen so much happen. And one big thing I want to say, and I know it's not NBA, but I want to go into WNBA news with this whole debacle with Brittany Griner and her being in Russia. It's been ridiculous. I mean, they need to figure out a way to get her home. In my opinion, I'm kind of conflicted. You need to know the laws with where you're at.
I was like,
you need to know where you're at, right? So I'm in Virginia, you're in a different state as well. When you combine the two states, there's totally different laws between the two. I'm a Commonwealth, you're not. So when you contrast the two, everything is different in states. And then when you take a country into perspective, especially Russia, I mean, you got to really think about what you're doing, and what you're doing back home might not be legal in Russia and could actually get you severe time, because what she had was one of those vape pens, and that is a bigger fine and bigger penalty than just having what grows out of the ground. So that's not for the topic for here, for the show, but just for what she's in. It's ridiculous why she's there. But you got to, when you sign a contract somewhere, because granted, she's working and playing in Russia, in the offseason to make more money, because LeBron makes $40 million a year. She makes like 600,000 a year, and where she needs to go make more money elsewhere by playing in these overseas leagues. But you need to know what these laws are before you go and sign up, because if you can't go without something for all that time, you need to not sign that contract and stay back here and figure out something else to do during the off season.
Yeah, I hate when they pull the sexism card. Like, if it was LeBron, but regardless, you did the wrong thing. Just go with, you did the wrong thing.
No, you're absolutely right, and I get that. It's just, you gotta make better decisions, sound decisions, and you can't really argue that when you got caught for. So I'm 100% with you on that. Right here at the end of the show, just like we acknowledged at the beginning of the show with the Vault of Fame, I got to acknowledge that Xander has officially been vaulted. He is now locked in the vault with episode 21 of the In or Out Sports Debate here at this time on the LegacyMaker Sports Network. And with that said, just like I said at the beginning, Xander is a 12-year-old who loves playing basketball, who, has spent his time honing his craft. He's now going to spend the next, few years really working on it and see what happens with high school and potentially further. But with all that being said, I do want to give acknowledgement to one more thing. Like I said, he was 12. This Sunday is his birthday. I want to pop this thing up from everyone here at the LegacyMaker Sports Network. Happy 13th birthday this Sunday, my man. Thank you again for joining us. Anytime. So thank you for joining us here. We definitely appreciate you again. And again, I'll pop that up one more time. This Sunday, this is Xander's 13th birthday. So just like Tiger Woods did at age 12, we got him in here to showcase his talents. And I don't know about you guys, but I got to say, he came in here guns blazing, ready, locked and loaded. And I hope he wants to come back again to do this again sometime.
For sure.
So thank you again for coming on. I'm going to go ahead and take this into one last epic slide, and that is our outro. Thank you for tuning in with us, guys.
Thank you.
For Double Debate Tuesday again tonight. P. Alexander Wiley at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. So thank you again, guys. Take care. And there's that outro, guys. Y'all take care again. We're going to go ahead and segue on out of here with the In or Out Sports Debate, episode 21.